It was June 29, 1995 in Seoul, South Korea, when inside the Sampoong Department Store, loud cracking sounds echoed through the building. Cracks had already appeared a day earlier, yet the store remained open. At 5:52 p.m., the fifth floor began to shake intensely, and within 20 seconds, the entire structure collapsed. Over 500 lives were lost, and 900 were injured in one of the deadliest building collapses in history. The late 1980s and early 1990s were significant years for South Korea's capital Seoul. In 1987, South Korea became a democratic country, and in 1988, Seoul was the host of Summer Olympics. There was a massive development boom in the city, with numerous projects initiated in a short period. One such project was undertaken by the Sampoong Group in 1987 to construct a 4-story residential building. The construction was managed by Woosung Construction, but before execution, Sampoong Group's chairperson Lee Jun changed the plan from a residential block to a department store and added an extra floor to maximize commercial profits. These unauthorized modifications weakened the structure. The newly added top floor was initially intended to be lightly loaded, minimizing the burden on the structure below. The initial drawings show that a roller rink was going to be built, which is generally an open space with only the weight of people roller skating around on it. However, after receiving approval, the use changed, and it turned into a restaurant floor, which was nothing like a roller rink. A restaurant, of course, has significant weight from tables, chairs and heavy equipment to provide services. The load calculations for the roller rink suggested that the weight should be limited to 1 ton per square meter. But with the conversion into a restaurant, the load increased to 1.5 tons per square meter, and it was never recalculated. Photographic evidence from the site later revealed that the top floors were inherently weaker than the others. According to the initial design, the columns on the top floors were supposed to have a diameter of 80 centimeters with 16 reinforcing bars in each column. However, after modifications, 8 out of the 16 columns had their diameter reduced to 60 centimeters with only 8 reinforcing bars, cutting the reinforcement steel in half. After its inauguration in July 1990, an additional 15-ton air conditioning unit was moved to the far side of the building to reduce noise. Instead of using a tower crane, workers used pulleys and rollers to drag the air conditioning units, which exerted extra stress on the structure and left cracks in the roof. Over time, these cracks grew larger, worsened by vibrations from the units. By the morning of June 29, 1995, the cracks had expanded dramatically. At 12 p.m., loud cracking noises were heard throughout the store, and the cracks widened to as much as 10 centimeters. By 5 p.m., management switched off the air conditioning units, closed the top floor, and held an emergency meeting. The idea of evacuating was discussed, but the chairperson Lee Jun refused, fearing a loss of revenue. Instead, only executives including Lee Jun left the building, leaving behind thousands of shoppers and staff. At 5:52 p.m., the fifth floor began to shake intensely. A countdown of 20 seconds started and people rushed to escape, but for many it was too late. This tragedy highlights how greed and unethical decisions prioritized profit over safety, turning a thriving store into a disaster. After investigations, several executives were sentenced to prison, and Sampoong Group ceased to exist.